Greetings, what is up, and a very warm welcome to the channel. The sun is hiding, and the rain is pouring, and the magpie is casting. Coming to you guys right now with a live 1 versus 1 battle featuring spawning in the north. It is going to be the Overcommand West pieces of CaptainSPrice. And spawning in the south, it is going to be the the camera. It's going to be the United States forces of Russian text. Now, unfortunately, Russian's always been a language that I've been fascinated with, but never really gotten around to learning very much of. I know a couple of phrases, Minyama Zavut Magpie, which means my name is Magpie, and also Vrad Naroda, which means enemy of the people, and, you know, I figure that's all I need to get by in Russia. So I actually can't read this, I'm ashamed to say. My ignorance reigns supreme. So we're just going to have to call him Russian? Yeah, we'll just go with that. Which is kind of confusing, seeing as how he's playing as the American forces, but there we go. And as these two players move on out to capture the map, I'm just going to make a quick announcement. I had the extreme privilege and pleasure of casting with Bozo Cow, a fellow Deserts of Karak caster yesterday. Great fun that was. And also tomorrow, which will be Saturday, the 28th of September, there's going to be a 24-hour live stream, which Bozo is hosting. So that'll be twitch.tv/BozoCow. And I'll be co-casting between the hours of 9 and 11 in the morning, GMT. So if you guys want to see some live casting of Deserts of Karak, then tune on in for that. That'll be really awesome. I'm sure there'll be some VODs available at some point as well, but I just thought I'd put the word out there that Homeworld is celebrating its birthday, and to celebrate that, there's going to be a 24-hour live stream on Bozo's channel, and I'll be joining in for a couple of hours there. So yeah, really looking forward to that. That's pretty exciting. Now let's see, CaptainSPrice looks like he's going for the good old Breakthrough Doctrine, and it is Breakthrough, right? Yeah. And this is a favourite of his. We've seen him use it to great effect in videos on the channel recently. If you don't want to be spoiled, probably just go back and find the video with CaptainSPrice. It's uploaded within the last week. It's probably within the top 5 videos on the channel, or most recently uploaded from this date. So yeah, go and check that out if you don't want to be spoiled, because I'm going to start talking about that game now. So CaptainSPrice used the Breakthrough Doctrine, and he navigated the game to a really nice late game situation where the OKW Axis late game units were just able to be leveraged for maximum advantage. And he reached that point with a really nice Panzer Fusilier dependent composition, and utilizing extremely just great vehicle micro. He had a Panzer IV that got to 5 stars and was like the crux of his entire operation, more or less. And it was just a fantastic game to watch. So it looks like that's a style that CaptainSPrice is quite happy with, quite familiar with, quite comfortable with. And he's going to be using that probably in this game. Yeah, this is the same thing. So he's gone 2 Volks into 2 Panzer Fusiliers. And the cool thing about this is, of course, Panzer Fusiliers, for 100 munitions, you can put 2 Panzer Shreks on them. And that actually makes them very pokey against armor. And this means that you can have an entirely infantry-based anti-armor solution, which means that your core infantry, it minds me of the olden days when you could put Panzer Shreks on Volks Grenadiers. And that, of course, that was deemed to be very strong. Things were changed. But it's still very strong when you're doing it with these units. Now, the Panzer Fusiliers, they cost near enough the same as Volks Grenadiers. I think they're like 10 manpower more. Let's check this out there. So 270 for the Panzer Fusiliers, 260 for the Volks Grenadiers. So yeah, these units are really awesome. Very, what an amazing tool for OKW players to be able to add into their roster. And CaptainSPrice really advertising that to maximum effect. That's not all you get with this commander, but we'll go into that in a second. Looks like Russian here going to be going for the Heavy Cav Doctrine. Now, we're used to seeing this a lot from American players, and that's because it's a great commander. Rangers are amazing. Placing mines is amazing. Smoke barrage is amazing. The Pershing is amazing. Combined arms is a button you can press and waste munitions, as far as I can tell. But 4 amazing things out of a potential 5 is pretty much as good as you can get on any commander. I wonder, though, if this commander isn't just a little bit figured out by now. I think players are quite used to countering the Pershing. I think, honestly, the Pershing is a late-game tool. It's hard to give it very high marks these days. It's been a while since I've seen, even in games where it appears to be doing well, the American player's normally on the back foot because the Pershing doesn't really enable you, it doesn't have much durability. It doesn't let you sustain a push or stay in a fight very long. So, yeah, definitely a great, reliable commander, but I wonder if it's not a little bit like in the olden days when Wehrmacht players would almost get trapped into picking the defensive doctrine, which gave you access to Ostrupon and a Puma. I feel like Vermac players always kept that one on their roster as a panic button that they could press if things were going badly, so they could immediately call in a Puma and a load of Ostrapen to help stabilize them. But the Doctrine lacked the late game tools to really give you much punch, so it often felt like you were just delaying your death sentence. So it would keep you alive for 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes or 20, but it was still kind of a death sentence because you just wouldn't have anything going on when the Allied players had developed into a nice three-dimensional late game. And I wonder if this command is a bit like that. It does give you all the tools you need, but I wonder if it actually has enough sort of... It's very generalist, like an all-round commander. And by not specialising in any one particular area, I wonder if it just lacks enough poke. And also, you know, I think people are very used to playing against this commander in the meta, so I feel like a player like CaptainSPrice will just have all the experience he needs. And to some extent, picking a commander and throwing a game into a weird direction is all about nullifying your opponent's experience. Because if they're playing an unfamiliar territory, if they're playing against a composition they don't understand or in game circumstances that they are unfamiliar with, then you negate a lot of their experience. And that's a really powerful thing to do against players who have a lot more hours than you, or who you suspect are better than you. So, although I love this pick of commander, I wonder if it isn't so orthodox that picking something else which is a little bit more surprising or a little bit less familiar to the top players in the scene might behoove American players a bit better. Obviously, I can't say either way, it's just an idea, it's just something on my mind that I thought I'd share with you, and that's kind of what I do as a caster, so yeah. Anyway, let's talk about this game a little bit more specifically now. We've got a flak half track on the field, so this is CaptainSPrice's tried and tested build. Those of you out there who like playing OKW and want something pokey to use on the ladder, do start taking notes, because this seems to be a really stable build. You couldn't just use this one yourself. I would say that the skill cap is very high, but you can definitely use this no matter what level you're at on the ladder. It provides you with a well-rounded set of tools to have a decent go at dominating the map under any circumstances and against any foe. So we've got flak half track. Panzerschreck's coming down on one set of Panzer Fusiliers. That's going to give him an answer for one of the many utility cars that we are seeing out of Russian. So Russian is doing something totally left field here. Everything I said about having to do something to put CaptainSPrice into an unfamiliar place, well, he's not doing it with his commander pick, but he is doing it with his unit composition. 4 utility cars is just weird. So I'm really looking forward to seeing just how effective this is, just how well practiced and efficient Russian can be with this build. Yeah, this is going to be a really weird one here. He's obviously got Lieutenant Tech as well, so he has access to these utility cars. But he also has the Stuart and the 50 cal cards that he can play if he needs to. But, I mean, this is also kind of cool because, right, this represents 4 Zooks, right? That's something. Hey, we're going to see an American mortar tube. It's been a long time. A long old time since I've seen one of these. Time Wars back in the day on release, they were by far the best. In fact, they were bugged, I think. When they first released, they would be, like, sniper accurate. They would just always plumb hit units. Even single model sniper units would just be, like, headshotted by these American mortars. They were so disgustingly good. But nowadays, I rather suspect that they're just a good mortar squad. They do cost slightly more than other factions' mortar squads. So I imagine that they have slightly superior rate of fire accuracy or something like that. American units tend to just be a little bit better in terms of sheer damage output than than most comparables. That's part of how the faction is balanced. So anyway, here comes a run-by of a sort of utility cars. What a weird thing to say. This is actually a scary prospect. Whoa! Unless you've got like 4 Panzerschrecks. Oof. Okay, it may be that Price has the necessary tools to deal with this. You know, I think against OKW generally, if your opponent is not going Shrek Fusiliers, this is probably a lot more impressive. But when your opponent is going with Shrek Fusiliers, I mean, like, your scout car, he's just burning a lot of munitions having to run away here. I don't know, man. I don't know. Axis forces are resurgent across the map. Price is pushing, and, you know, Price is no slouch. If he smells blood in the water, he's going to move in to tear you apart, and that's what we're seeing here. So we're even going to see a light gun. So this is clearly, like, Price's happy composition. He'll be going for light guns. He'll be going for possibly a forward battle grip at HQ. Actually, sorry, he already has that. This is just the Price build, I'm going to call it now. I don't know if he started it or whatever, but it's definitely him I saw using it first very recently, so... Yeah, and then we'll be moving into a Schwerpanzer HQ with a Panzer IV, which sets you up really nicely in the mid-game, and if you can keep that Panzer IV alive, it scales really well into the late game. And then what we saw him do before was just go for a King Tiger. No, he didn't want to go for the Jagdtiger. Now, he was the map that he was playing on before, the name eludes me, but it wasn't a very Jagdtiger-friendly map. This one, I would argue, is a more Jagdtiger-friendly map. If we take a look at the middle of the map, you can park a Jagdtiger like here, and it can threaten like all the... Pardon me, it can threaten all these areas, so... This is a fine Jagdtiger map, but you know what? It's probably an even finer King Tiger map. Like, the King Tiger is such a more well-rounded unit than the Jagdtiger. It's like the Jagdtiger has like a 9 or a 10 out of 10 for anti-tank and like a 3 out of 10 for anything else you want it to do, probably less. Whereas the King Tiger is a solid 8 out of 10 at everything, or 7, 8 out of 10 at pretty much everything except for mobility. So like, it's just a safer choice. 9 times out of 10, that King Tiger is probably going to serve you better than a Jagdtiger, unless your opponent is doing something super pokey, like, I don't know, your opponent has an ISU 152 and you really need to pick it down at range or something like that. So anyway, somehow Russian is not out of this game though. The utility cars are still marauding around the place. Oh my goodness, this black half-track is going to shred them up though. Oh dearie me. So 3 squads of Panther Fusiliers. Okay, that's more than I saw Price use before, I think. Oh no, I think he had 2 before and 1 with the rifles is what it was. So he had 2 Shrek squads, 1 rifle squad the last time I saw him do this build. I mean, Price is still maintaining 2 of the 3 victory points. He's up at 490 over 385. His resource income is superior to that of the American player. So, I mean, this is all basically fine. For CaptainSPrice, that is. Are those utility cars just repairing somewhere? Ah, American units are so hard to keep track of. Okay, they are, yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of on Russian here to make something happen. We're 11 minutes in this game. He's firmly the underdog. His composition, he tried something a little bit left field, and I think against most players, against most builds, it would have worked. But when your opponent's toting 4 Shreks on their infantry squads, which OKW are not normally doing, then this utility car spam, much less effective. To be fair, pretty much as soon as Russian saw this, he transitioned out of it. He's going for a couple of 50 cals, it looks like, and just a fairly well-rounded roster. He's got a mortar squad. I'd love him to get 1 more rifleman squad, or indeed, actually, I would love him to get some rangers. Rangers would be lovely, if he can afford the rangers, which he can't right now, but if he could save for rangers, that would be amazing. But he's going to need some sternum anti-tank, actually. And you know what? The Rangers could provide that. Rangers with Zooks, as we've seen, are really, really, really good. Wow, this 50 cal not getting the suppress on these Panzer Fusiliers. A bit unlucky there. Lieutenant going to give chase. The Tommy gun clattering away there. And he's going to go for the cutoff here as Price. Russian firmly on the back foot. Most of his units in his base or on its doorstep. And in disarray right now. He has enough victory point tickets where he can spend a bit of time, rally his forces, come out in a more cohesive manner and try and establish a position on the map. And that's what he needs to do now. Flak half-track getting repaired. Not long now, the mouse is on the way. The new mouse is on the way. We're going to hopefully no more of these crazy little mouse movements. I've got to say that my existing mouse, which I believe is a Steel Series Kana, has served remarkably well for maybe 5 or more years, which pretty good for a piece of hardware that's in use pretty much every day and has been packed into boxes and moved around like many times. So yeah, Steel Series, definitely like shout out to them. They do produce a nice mouse, and I did some research and I've settled on another Steel Series. Going to be the Sensei 310, I believe it is, for my next mouse. A pretty straightforward mouse, but still the most complicated I will ever have owned. It's basically just a regular mouse with adjustable DPI, and it's got like 2 buttons on each side. So yeah, really looking forward to giving that one a go. 2 buttons on each side, going to be fun. I don't know what game I'm going to have use for that in. Possibly MechWarrior 5, if I opt to play it with mouse and keyboard instead of controller and keyboard. But I am a bit of a controller person. I love playing with a controller. Playing with a controller, right, it just lets you... The ergonomics is so much better because you can sit back in your chair, you can adjust that chair all the way back, get your lumbar support going. I'm a big fan of ergonomics. I realize I'm not actually covering... There's just not that much going on in the game right now, so yeah, I'm a big fan of using controllers where I can. I use controllers for like all games where it's an option, even where people are just like, you're mad to use a controller for that game. I just somehow make it work. But you can't use a controller for RTS games. Don't worry, I'm not that bad. I'm not that mad. And yeah, MechWarrior 5 is looking so hype. Oh my god, I'm excited about that game. It's so weird. I'm like more excited about that game than I am about pretty much any other game at the moment, which is bizarre to me. I just didn't think I'd be this hyped for it, but it just looks amazing. Super looking forward to the new Pokemon game actually as well. Okay, so we've got a fight here in mid. Looks like Lieutenant Rifleman going to try and make a play for the mid VP. There's a Kettenwerfer here with no real answer. 50 cal coming in. Here come the utility cars. The crew can bail out of those to get some Zooks. Price feels compelled to use the smoke and preserve his unit. There is an MG in this building, but the smoke is actually probably going to screen these riflemen, so I reckon the Cap may well go through. Ooh, nice light gun coming down and hitting these pinned riflemen. Oh no, he's forced to fall back. I feel like he could have stayed for a moment or two longer there, see if he actually gets the Cap or not, but I do realise he is zeroed in by this light gun, and so that's a risky proposition there, staying to capture that point. And decapping it is probably enough. In fact, to his credit, getting some work done in West, an unchecked squad of riflemen, finally, a ray of hope here for Russian as he moves out, grabs Price's fuel, looking to disrupt further into the backfield of Price, and the Axis units are going to be sluggish to respond to that. Maybe Price just now, you can see on the minimap, a couple of units being tasked with heading on out into west of map to try and redress the gains that Russian is making there. It looks like the flak half-track also, a nice mobile responder unit, going to head on up there to police that area. Schwerwehrmacht Schlepper is here, so we're probably going to see the Schwerer Panzer HQ come down momentarily. Major Tech is out for the American player, so he can have his pick of American armoured units when he has the fuel to do so. About 20 away from a Sherman. Or our Sherman's 110. I think they're 110 actually, aren't they? Yeah. So he's actually 27 away from that. But he could just save up for a Jackson, and I think against an OKW opponent who's had, like, how can I put it, the overdog position for the majority of the game, you probably do want to just go straight for the Jackson. Because if you go to take Sherman, and then they bring out a Panther or something, like, you're going to feel pretty foolish. Oh no! Rifleman squad here, going to get wiped, and that's super unfortunate for Russian. He can ill afford to be hemorrhaging his core infantry at this point in the game. You don't want to lose the veterancy, you don't want to lose the equipment, you don't want to have to replace them. But if you are going to replace them, there are none finer than America's Rangers, and they are what we're going to see coming in here, immediately opting to go for the Tommy gun package. So we're going to see a pretty elite infantry shredding unit added to the roster here. I just wonder if they're ever going to be able to get close enough to do the damage, because there's already an MG34 in the roster here for Price, in a nice position. He's got just a lot of infantry here. I imagine we'll see STGs appearing on these Volks before too long. Come on, mouse. So, I don't know. This is a pretty tough position right now for Russian. I'm not even sure that I love the choice of Rangers right now. So he's on 350 manpower for them versus 280 for the Riflemen. I think I honestly just would have preferred some Riflemen here. If the battle looks a little bit different, and if the problems facing Russian were different to the problems that are hitting him right now, then the Rangers could have been a fine choice, but you really need a very expensive elite anti-infantry unit right now in this game, looking at what's happening. Is that the best choice? I don't know. I'll leave it to you. Looks like some kind of assault artillery coming in here. Is this the assault artillery that's coming in? No, it's too early for that. What is this? What is this barrage that's coming down? Oh, is this the American Major Barrage? Yeah, it's the American Major Barrage. Oh, I like that. It's very rare that you get to see this used, and it's quite cheap at 60. So that's nice. And of course, anytime you can rein in a massive indirect fire strike, a forward battle gripper position, that has always been a problem for forward battle gripper positions, is any kind of indirect saturation artillery. So yeah, I like that, converting some munitions into value there. Looks like the Major also going to stay for value. Is he in here firing with his 1945? No, okay, well, I missed that. Is it a 1940? No, it's a 1919. He has like the semi-auto pistol, right? The 45 cal. As I pause for a sip on my drink. So Price gets firmly established in West. He puts down the Schwerpanzer HQ to ensure that no American units are able to straggle through here without a pretty determined assault at least. So no longer can a single rifleman squad put Price on the back foot in this area of the map. He takes back everything he needs over here, the fuel, the victory point, the munitions, throws down the Schwerpanzer HQ to cover. Now, I've been informed recently, the Schwerpanzer HQ, yeah, you have to upgrade it with the Panzer Authorization flak cannon, which costs 100 manpower and 60 fuel. This is not something I was aware of until a previous game that I cast, actually also involving CaptainSPrice, where we saw Schwerpanzer HQ not firing at some troops that were within its radius, and I was like, why aren't they firing? It's like, well, you need to upgrade that now. Now, Price has 270 fuel, and I imagine we're going to see him go for another Schwerwehrmacht Schlepper and go for the KT, because he is not pressured at all right now. Like, if he wanted a Panzer IV, he could take one. If he wanted a Panther, he could take one. That is just how luxurious of a position he finds himself in. But I don't think he actually needs either of those units. Look at this American army in the top right. There is no need for a Panzer IV. There is no need for a Panther. So, I mean, he could just save fuel. He could even go for a squad of Obersoldaten in the meantime, which I think I would love, actually. Obersoldaten would make this army really, really hard. It would limit the efficiency of all these infantry units, and when you're doing that against an American player in this situation, it's brutal. So he finishes the forward fallback research. I'm loving this. Price is playing OKW in the style that I myself really love to play OKW and see them played. This is how I was always playing them, basically. Forward battle grip at HQ, dig in or die. Build light guns. Look at this light gun. He's got 11 kills and 2 stars of veterancy. That is the best Lig I have seen like in recent memory. Well done, Price. Making the Lig actually look like a real choice. Yeah, and this is super exciting. Okay, so if you are Russian right now, you have to break mid. Oh, dearie me. This is not how you do it. Not with one squad of Rangers. You have to break mid or you have to break west. They are both looking difficult, and he's about to find out why west is difficult. Flomp, flomp is going to be the sound of the flat cannon right here. Here it comes. There it is. And that you cannot challenge with infantry alone, sir. You'll need an anti-tank gun or a vehicle. Okay, he's going to smoke that one up. A little bit delayed there. I think that was probably a waste of munitions, but that's okay. I mean, I don't want to call this one too early, but oh my god, Price manages to decap East. Uh-oh. This one could be over a little bit sooner than I thought here. Because if Price is able to assert his dominance here as well, I mean, that is just game. And so he does go for the Mechanized Regiment HQ. That's finishing up here momentarily, so it's going to be KT at a time soon. And this is just a ruthless, efficient operation here. Has Price really lost any units? Has Price lost any units? Has Price lost any units? I don't think he has he? Has he? I can't remember him losing any units in this game. He's got his Storm Planners that he started with. He's got his 2 squads of Volks. He's got his 3 squads of Panzer Fusiliers. So he hasn't lost any MGs right now. So yeah, no, I don't think actually Price has lost a single unit. And now we've got the biggest of cats coming onto a field where the American player already has no answers for 3 or 4 severe problems that CaptainSPrice is posing for him. So now the King Tiger is here. This represents a giant diamond-coated adamantium nail in the coffin. Some fights you aren't supposed to win. And this, I feel, for Russian is one of them.
A capture point is being overrun.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's that. I mean, there's no Captain Tech, so he can't spam AT guns, right? Nope. He has... Actually, oh, he's saving for a Pershing. That is ill-advised. I think this is double Jackson time. The Pershing just... not going to be enough here. Too much access on the dance floor. Price is going to shove. He doesn't need to. But his opponent has shown absolutely no signs of being able to answer what Price is doing, so why not shove? Here comes the King Tiger. It's going to start murdering Yanks here. Nasty scenes. 50 cal getting taken out. Pershing arrives. So Russian wanted to play with this unit, and he's going to get to. I just wonder if this is how he thought the game would look. Here comes the Pershing.
The enemy is overrunning one of our capture
Come on,
points.
Mouse. So where's he going to commit this thing? Oh no, he wastes shots at infantry.
Friendly's down to 100 points. I say again,
100 tickets remaining. Russian does manage to secure one of the victory points, thereby stemming the bleeding, but not entirely. I mean, the Pershing is an utter brute against infantry, let's be fair. I mean, we saw in a recent game when it, like, the first shot of the game, it killed 3 Obersoldaten, and the remaining one fell back, and then the next shot of the game, he hit that Obersoldaten, so it was just an immediate 2-shot squad wipe for the Pershing. The Pershing is very good against infantry. Oh no, if the King Tiger sits here, though, the Pershing can't ever get back into base. So the Pershing's going to come in here to challenge the big cat. He just doesn't even have any scouting on it. Oh, what? Hits the line of sight blocker. Oh no, this is just all going wrong here for Russian. He does manage to get the Pershing in. Okay, he had the option of going in behind there, but not going to happen. Price is compelled to pull back his King Tiger into a position where it is, instead of crushing Russian, it is merely dominating the entire map. So that is something of a... that is progress here if you're Russian. It's going to come back in for another shot. Wow. Oh, there's a lot of Shreks. That's so many Shreks. Wow. That is game. Oh, that is such a lot of Panzerschreck. The King Tiger's going to get one last shot here, and it doesn't actually kill it. The engine gets damaged on the KT. The Pershing is safe for now. American forces pushing in west, but remember, they can't really get up here. Somewhere infantry are being wiped out. I think that was another squad of riflemen or something. That looks like a dead Pershing. King Tiger reigns supreme. And I believe we'll probably see Russian leave the game just now. Yeah, CaptainSPrice onto a good build. It's nice to see that this build apparently just as effective on a smaller and more brutal map than the last map we saw it played on. I'm sure Price has other builds that he's comfortable with, but this is definitely what he's happy to using, or at least wants to practice most right now, having seen him use it in 2 out of 2 recent games that I've cast of him. Yeah, this is just a great build. If you are a new player looking for ways to accessible builds to start trying with OKW as a faction, you could do a lot worse than pulling out this one. It's very stable. It's actually quite forgiving. None of your units are too fragile or brittle. It can take on pretty much almost any allied build. And, you know, it's not without its weaknesses. Opponents can pressure this forward position, and there's a lot of counterplay available to allied players who are smart. But this is definitely a great starting point if you're an OKW player wanting to get out there. So it's like 2 Volks into 2 Panzer Fusiliers, forward battle group at HQ, into Shreks on Panzer Fusiliers, into support weapons, so MG34 and Leig. Oh, sorry, and of course the flak half-track, which I neglected to mention. That's an integral part of this build, and actually, Price kept it alive to the close of the game. 2 stars of veterancy, 15 kills. Not often we see a flak half-track with a longevity like that. So yeah, that's the nuts and bolts of this build. Then once you feel happy with this position, Schwerpanzer HQ to garrison a portion of the map that you don't feel like committing too many units to defend, and then it's up to you whether you say go for the King Tiger or the Jagdtiger, or if you're under a lot of pressure, you can just go for Panzer IV or Panther, as things, you know, you have options. So that's a great build. Yeah, so I think that will conclude this video. Remember, tomorrow, Saturday 29th, 24-hour Homeworld anniversary stream. If you like the Homeworld series, any particular part of it, the single player, any of the games, Homeworld 1, 2, you know, what was it, Cataclysm, that was awesome. Deserts of Karak, just all fantastic games. Go hang out with Bozo Cow. It's going to be a pretty cool stream, I think. It's going to be great fun. There's a lot of stuff going to be going on throughout the day, not just any one particular game or anything like that. And of course, Homeworld 3 coming out in some time, but it's a good time to be excited about Homeworld right now. And I'll be on there between about the hours of, 9 to 11 GMT. So yeah, if you guys want to come hang out, I'll catch you there. Thanks very much for watching, and this for now, Magpie842 signing out.